we have some new Commander banned restriction announcements. And it's more or less only good news, because they are only unbanning cards. Nothing is getting banned, nothing is disappearing, and first and foremost, all of these will go into the game changer list, meaning that if you're playing in, let's say, bracket 3, you're only allowed to play 3 of these, and if you're playing in bracket 1 or 2, you aren't allowed to play any of these 5 unbanned cards. And those are Gifts Ungiven, Sway of the Stars, Braids, and Collision Victory, and Panoptic Mirror. Sorry, English. Panoptic Mirror, right? I never really bothered to learn this card, as it's always been banned and I never had a reason to play it, so yeah. In any case, let's begin with the 3 cards that aren't gonna have a big difference. Because we're all here obviously to listen and talk about Braids and Gifts Ungiven. But yes, just begin with the other 3 and just move over them a little bit fast. Sway of the Stars, it's not going to see any cEDH games whatsoever. It is not good. Each player shuffle his or her hand, graveyard and permanents into his library, then draw 7 cards, and the live total becomes 7. It's similar to that Wildfire that just ends the game, kinda. Time Twister and end the game. Too expensive, and I don't see a world where anyone wants to do that. Collision Victory could be played in some very weak, cool, fringe 5-color decks, but it's never going to be played in any cEDH deck. This is a card that has been debated back and forth, because you wouldn't play this in casual because you don't want to end the game that way in casual, and you would never play this in cEDH because it's just too weak. Ultimately, it doesn't matter if this is banned or not. It could literally be unbanned or banned and it wouldn't make a difference. So in the end, you could just unban it for the sake of it. This one has cEDH aspects to it, and it could actually be played the Panoptic Mirror. The cool trick you do here is that you imprint an extra turn, and they actually talk about it down here somewhere in the text. The first imprint an extra turn spell, yeah, there they go. But they also mention that you can imprint cool, fun things, and yeah, you can do that. And that's why it should be legal, because yeah, you can have a demonic tutor imprinted on this, or a brainstorm imprinted on this. But when you imprint an extra turn spell, that's when this one goes infinite. The reason this is never going to see play in cEDH, it still could, but it's probably never going to, is because we already have Dramatic Reversal, and it's one of the fringe, it's not one of the dominating combos in the format currently. It's doing good, but a lot of decks are moving away from Scepter Dramatic Reversal, so to say. And Scepter Dramatic Reversal is stronger, better than this, so why would you play a weaker version of a weak combo? That takes us to Braids. And yeah, this is gonna be a longer part of the video, and after Braids we're gonna talk about Gifts Ungiven. So this actually surprises me a lot, because you can have her as a commander in bracket 3 quite easily, and heavily build around that. Now first and foremost, I have playtested Braids as a commander, because sometimes my playgroup allows a bit of variety, and she's not good. Like, trust me, this is not a good cEDH commander. If you bring Braids to a cEDH tournament, your average win rate is gonna be around 12-13 potentially, because she doesn't win the game. You're mostly gonna, no wait, I think it's gonna be lower than that. You're gonna draw a lot of games where everyone is sitting there and doing nothing except dying, having no permanents in play except you, and then you win super slow. I could be wrong, but I mean, the format has changed quite a lot, but the part where they actually write that down here somewhere too. A lot has changed since Braid was banned 29. We mostly people know what they signed up for in a game with Braids as a commander, and as a card in 99 it's reasonable and acceptable. Also here, as commander decks have become more efficient with more target removal spells, and players have gotten better at identifying commanders they don't want to play against and having a pre-game conversation. Yeah, that is true. Yeah, I mean, you can literally say in casual, I don't want to play against your Braids deck. But also right here, target removal spells. And that's the big problem. Like, Sure, you can develop a fast braids with some stuff, and then an effect that is gonna make sure you don't die to your own braids, but ultimately, someone is just gonna switch to plowshare this, and that's that. I do think that some people are going to playtest in tournaments, like literally bring this to cEDH tournaments just for the fun of it. So I think it's gonna pop up. I could see a world where some people might include this inside some 99s. I would highly not recommend that, because stacks decks in general are pretty weak inside this format currently. I have a lot of data to support this, and my own player experience have kinda showcased the same thing. But hey, in the end, Braids is a really cool card, and I like that it's back. And maybe maybe there's one deck somewhere out there that could have her in there. That takes us to Gifts Ungiven. And this is a cEDH card. It's gonna be, I'm not gonna say auto-included, but it's a big upgrade for all Underworld Breach, Brain Freeze, Lions of Diamonds, Sevice Reclamation decks that didn't need an upgrade. It is also obviously a upgrade for Reanimator decks in general, but the big thing here is that this is an upgraded version to Intuition. So if you own a Gifts Ungiven, congratulations, it's gonna go up in price quite a lot, because a lot of cEDH players that are on Grixis core shells, probably including white, like Blue Farm, are gonna want to play this. If they are playing Intuition, they are probably gonna want to also play Gifts Ungiven. You could make an argument that 4 mana is a little bit more than 3, especially considering that a lot of black decks wanna be on Adnos, and that could be a problem. So I'm not saying that it's gonna be an auto-include, but every non-Underworld Breach black deck, so for example, Jeskai, Iset, Temur, are going to be very interested in this card, because they are lacking tutors. If they have Jeskai color identities, it's perfect, because you have Breach, red, Brain Freeze, blue, Sevine's Reclamation, white, Lion's Eye Diamond. That's the 4 cards you're gonna find with this 1 card blue tutor. Perfect! This is going to be ultimately a big boost to Jeskai decks in general. Blue Farm 2, or all blue, red Underworld Breach builds. Temur could also get a boost, because there's a bunch of green spells that could do a similar job to Sevine's Reclamation. And honestly, we need more non-black tutors. So I'm really happy about this. I've been thinking that Gifts Ungiven should be legal for quite some time. Sure, it's going to boost the Underworld Breach, but it's also going to boost a lot of other combos out there in general too, or just other concepts out there in general too. Like, it's a 2 card, or a 1 card find 2 cards, you could say. So if you cast this in response to someone who is winning, you could find 4 counter spells. Now, you don't really want to use Intuition to find a Force of Will, but in this case, you're at least gaining something. Like, you can remove 2 counterspells from your deck into your graveyard, fueling your futuristic Underworld Breach, but then find 2 more counterspells. 1 Force of Will that you're using now, and then 1 Pact of Negation on your next turn when you're trying to win the game. Or you find Esper Sentinel, Rhystic Study, Smothering Tide, and Mystic Remora. Or the One Ring. So I think this is going to be a card that's gonna go up in price. Quite a lot. That takes us to the elephant in the room. They'll actually literally write that here. And I have to be honest, I was surprised that they didn't unban Jeweled Lotus and put it in game changer list. I think that is something they're ultimately going to do. I'm not so certain they're gonna do that with Mana Crypt and Dockside Extortionist. Who knows, maybe in the future. But I do think that they are going to do that with Jeweled Lotus. It is a commander card, and it isn't legal anywhere else outside of Commander, and it isn't currently legal in Commander. So I think that they should, and probably will, eventually put it in the game changer list. It just didn't do it now. They also start talking a little bit about their philosophy, and we do know a little bit about like how Sheldon expressed concerns about cards that are hindering people from playing the game, such as Winter Orb, that is just slowing down the game and making it impossible for people to do things. They want to kind of divert away from that. Here they're talking about something different. They have actually talked about the problem of Paradox Engine, And they write a few pieces down here, an incredible easy combo and mana generation card with all the artifact mana played in Commander. I could imagine if brackets are strongly and wide adopted, us talking about it as a potential game changer, but we're long away from that. I would actually change this. This is not what Sheldon talked about as the Paradox Engine problem. And the problem with Paradox Engine back in the days was that it sat there for 20 minutes each turn, durdling, doing nothing. Because back in those days when you brought this into casual games, it unlocked a lot of potential that the casual deck wasn't able to utilize into. When a cEDH deck got their hands on a Paradox Engine, it ended pretty fast because they knew how they were going to operate it, and they had a built strategy focused around Paradox Engine to make it work, to win on the spot, quite easy and fast. Casual decks doesn't have that, and that was the reason why Paradox Engine was banned, because the casual decks weren't able to handle it properly. It just sat there and became annoying. I want to emphasize, they didn't sit there and like win, they sat there and they were annoying. This is also the same case with Nadu. And here they write, this incredible problematic card has earned its ban in most formats, Commander included. It has led to very long and unfun combo turns and extremely strong with staples like Lightning Greaves, not to mention easily founded the mana replay. Yeah, it basically just sits there and accumulates value forever. Paradox Engine and Nadu are identical, which takes us to what they are writing about the Nadu contingency. The only exception will be what I am calling the Nadu contingency, which is if a new or unbanned card begins to become generally reviable and people just want it gone as soon as possible, we can break that seal and act early. However, I am hopeful we do not need to do this, as it would need to be a fairly extreme circumstances. Because that is once again how Paradox Engine became banned. There was just so many casual players running around playing it against other casual players, and they sat there and durdle, and once again they were annoying that people started to beg, remove this. Which is also similar to... Actually Nadu had, if I understand correctly, Nadu had some self-regulation. People were actually refraining away from doing that in a different way compared to Paradox Engine, but I still heard that there was a lot of complaints. And that's a problem, because if you're starting to have a ban philosophy around, if a lot of people are complaining about this, then we're going to ban it. I'm just worried that can create a strange culture, because truth be told, there's a lot of other cards that could get into casual hands that could end up being just as annoying as Paradox Engine. I do, however, like that they are taking the opinions into consideration from the community. That's a good thing. But I'm just worried that the community is going to find the next Paradox Engine, play that a lot, be annoying, and then a lot of people are begging for this to be banned. That voice gets heard a lot, and then suddenly we're moving into a direction of what is popular and annoying for a lot of players becomes banned. Someone listening to this video might say that's a good thing, that's how the ban structure should work. It's kinda how it has been working in a lot of cases currently. So I guess it's a matter of opinion. I'm skeptic that that is a good approach. Instead, I would prefer to see what they are doing right now. I like this. So they are talking about why they are banning certain cards here and there. And by the way, they are talking about why they are banning Paradox Engine. I just know for a fact, historically, this is not the reason it was initially banned. And we have data saying that Paradox Engine is not an overpowered card. It was never really that good as it's kind of claimed here in this text. While we're on the topic, I actually disagree with this one too. And no, I agree that you shouldn't play Nadu inside casual, because it's easily a seed. It's very hard. Let me phrase it like this. It's close to impossible to make Nadu into a casual commander, but in cEDH, it is not that broken. I have a lot of data that have showcased that Nadu is in general fine. It's good. It's just not it's not dominating the best commander in the format, and it's the only thing everyone should be playing. That's what I'm trying to say. But most cards here, they actually give a good explanation of why they are banned. and why they are staying banned. This card is incredibly unfun when flipped early. We have actually playtested this card in cEDH and it's not good. I don't think any cEDH deck should be playing this. It is extremely hard to make this card flip. You have to build your entire deck heavily focused around it, and once you do, it does nothing. So here, this card having the reason incredibly unfun is fine, because yeah, you shouldn't play this in casual. It's not something the casual experience in general want, and it's not good enough to have it appear in cEDH properly, so just keep it unbanned. This is actually the same argument about Collision Victory that they unbanned just recently. This is just something you don't do in casual, and it's too weak to do in cEDH. So here I'm gonna say this. I don't care if this is banned or unbanned. A big problem is that if you actually unban this, casual players are probably gonna try to play this, which they shouldn't. So I will agree that this probably should be banned. In most cases, I do agree with everything they are writing on some of these cards in kinda general, except for one. Recurring Nightmare! I think this should be legal. The play pattern of repeatedly looping the same creatures and without any interaction window, because the return of the enchantment is a cost and the combo potential leads to a card that is more likely to create harm and frustration than good. It's nostalgic, which is nice, but not a card we want to touch at this time. Honestly, this is not going to really do that. If you're playing Reanimator, this is a weak Reanimator. Necromancy is the same mana cost, but it's an instant speed Reanimator, which comes with a death effect too, which is sometimes good regarding Protean Hulk. But the most common Reanimator spells you'd use are 2 CMC animated, which will win the game on the spot on resolve. So I don't see a harm in that part regarding this enchantment. Secondly, looping creatures inside your graveyard just for value inside cEDH is not a big problem currently. Like, what are you going to loop? A Spellseeker? That's really inefficient. Looping Eternal Witness? That is also really inefficient. It's a little bit hard to describe, but take my word for it. Like, sitting there and trying to hurdle-durdle with your creatures in your graveyard for just value is, with the ETB effect, is just going to be sluggish. It's not gonna be dominating, it's not gonna do something explosive. And if you compare how sluggish it will feel, it is far away from how Paradox Engine is going to operate. Because this is going to have a more clear play pattern of what it's going to achieve if you're doing it for value. If you're doing it for infinite, if you're doing this for a combo, where you're casting this infinitely with like a... what's the 5 Drake that untaps 5 lands, or if a Dockside variant you could say here. Then you just win on the spot. It's just one of many different combos we already have, and we already are doing this. Caphonian Nightmare is stronger than this card. Everything they are writing right here on Necroing Nightmare could be said about Caphonian Nightmare. That is legal and better, stronger than this, because it's 2 mana instead of 3. And why sit there and loop something that is extremely expensive when you can loop something that is probably doing the same thing with a low CMC, around 3, that Caphonian Nightmare only requires. For example, if you have 2 lands that produce 4 mana, Cloud of Ares does the job. So in the end, I utterly disagree with Recurring Nightmare remaining banned. For now, I will pseudo agree with Tinker as well. The thing you're gonna find is Bolas Citadel. Period. That's it. You could argue that there could be some other cool artifacts you could tutor for too, but promise me, Bolas Citadel is the best thing you find. And the question is that too good? Currently, I don't know. I mean, Bolas Citadel is okay. It's not... among Adnos, Necropotence and Bolas Citadel, it's one of the weaker among the 3. If you would do this in casual and bring out a... wait, Portal to Phyrexia might be the card. Yeah, you're gonna find Portal to Phyrexia with this thing. in casual. For those that don't know, it's like a 9 CMC artifact that forces all of your opponents to sacrifice 3 creatures, and then you reanimate a creature at the beginning of your upkeep from any graveyard. So that's good, that's a good artifact. And I could see a world where some strange cEDH decks would tinker for Portal to Phyrexia as well. So the verdict if you're banning Tinker is that too strong? And according to them, it is. And here I'm gonna say, fine. Yeah, sure. If you're tutoring for a turn 2, a Portal to Phyrexia with a Tinker, then sure. It's like Soul Ring turn 1, Tinker turn 2, sacrifice Soul Ring, Portal to Phyrexia. On the other hand, at that game stage, no one has creatures. Like, sure, you're gonna force your opponents to sacrifice their dorks, and then you're gonna reanimate dorks? And people are just going to, like, destroy the artifact pretty early. They already talked about artifact removal and spot removal in the Braids concept, so I don't know. The ultimate verdict is, I'm happy. Gifts Ungiven legal, that's good. And sure, Braids, Cabal, Minion legal, I would say that's good too. And who cares about the 3 other cards? I mean, in the end, it's good that they are legal, they are fine. And they seem to have some good positions, like something they write about all the currently still banned cards is that they are talking about them back and forward and they're having a discussion, which means that they are reopening them for consideration. So if they didn't unban the recurring nightmare that I want them to unban, it's not a big deal. And who knows, maybe they will start to evaluate things more, and something they actually write in the article that I do agree upon is it's good to just make things go slow forward. Let's have it take its time of course and see how things develop. So if they don't want to unban too much, just because they just want to see how things develop, then I agree upon that. And I would actually even say that that could be a big reason to not unban the recurring nightmare, just because you want to take things a little bit too slow, not to unban everything at the first possible moment you get. Which is kind of why they didn't unban Jewel Lotus. In any case guys, thanks so much for watching, and as always, we will be back. Hope to see you then. Take care.